This demonstration will cover how to make a small slab box, which can also be turned into a small jar. So this one I've already sort of started. I created a paper form first, so it truly is a cube. I just created a square, and then I have 6 different square pieces. And I went ahead and cut an extra one for myself just for the demonstration purposes, but you could just untape this and use these as your pieces. And this goes for any shape. I could make a triangle, I could make an octagon, any shape, but building it with building with paper first is helpful for then creating slabs. So here I've created my pieces. I'm just working on slipping and scoring. And so in order to do this, I actually beveled my edges, which just means I took my X-Acto knife, and on the edge that I know is going to join another edge, I went very carefully and just trimmed off an angle. And so that angle is going to meet this angle over here to create a square. So I did that on this piece already. Make sure my pieces are up. I did decide to add a little shell texture, so I just took a shell and pressed it into the cube, and that'll just be nice when I'm glazing it. It'll have a little bit of a texture design in there. I'm gonna fix this bevel. Again, just taking my X-Acto knife down at an angle. So I cut at an angle, so I have a nice little beveled edge. And then I'm going to slip and score. And slipping and scoring, you want to make sure you have lots and lots of slip. Slip is 50% water, 50% clay. All edges that are going to touch should be slip and scored. So I'm going to go ahead and just score all the edges so that everything is ready. And then I also need to slip and score the base and my edges over here. And you want so much slip that it's like goopy. If it's goopy, that means the slip is going to come out of the edges, and you know that the seam is really filled with slip. You can always smooth that out later, so don't worry about it craftsmanship wise. It's better for the integrity and the strength of your little slab jar if you have lots and lots of slip. Okay, so I've slip and scored all my edges. I did use a scoring brush for that. You can use a pin tool or even a scoring rib, anything, or a fork, anything that's gonna give lots of these hatch marks. And then I'm going to add my pieces together to create my box. And I do need to carefully press all the edges together. My beveled edges should fit together really nicely so that they come down to a point. So I'm just going to go around, pinch all my edges together. And then I have a beginning of my cube, and I have a lot of cleaning up to do on the edges, but right now I'm just going to continue to show how to make the project. So I do have one final slab I need, which is the top. I'll show you when I go to create my slabs, I like to smooth them out first. So I'm going to take my metal rib, which is in the rib drawer in the back of the room. You can also find rubber ribs and metal scoring ribs, and then I'm going to flip it and do the same on this side. And then here I can actually just take this piece and set it down and cut it out. That way I know that it fits for sure. I could have done that with the base as well. I could also take my piece of paper and just double check that the paper fits. You'll see that the paper is a little bit smaller. And so I have decided I'm just going to take my piece, I'm going to set it down and carve or trace, cut it out straight from the slab. That way, again, I know that it fits perfectly. I'm gonna go really slow. Just gonna trace it for right now. And then I will cut it out after I get my box back off. And now here I am going to use a straight edge to cut, so I know I have nice clean edges. Craftsmanship is always important. You really want clean edges. I have X-Acto knives at my desk, so if you need one, feel free to ask. And then I have my final piece. I can set it on here, and I slip and score. So again, lots and lots of gunky slip. Going to get all the edges on the top. If you don't end up having good slip, good gunky, wet slip, your pieces very likely might not stay together. So again, you have to score both surfaces, which is what I'm doing now. I'm scoring that top surface. And I'm gonna set that on and just press down gently right now, and I'll have to do a lot more cleaning up and wiggling and mending that. But now I should have a full cube. There should be slip oozing out of my crevices so that I know that I've slip and scored all my sides on really well. And again, reminding you guys, I did put the textures on before I put the slabs together and slip and scored them. So if you wanted to add textures, you want to do that before you assemble your piece. And now that I have my box, I am going to start to think about what I want to put on for my handle. Because I did the texture of the shell around the outside, that's exactly what I'm going to do for the handle. I'm just going to take a shell, I'm going to pick one of these smooth spots, I'm going to roll the shell on the clay, and then I'm just going to cut that shell shape out for my handle. Curve it, and then I will slip and score this little shell piece on top of my box as my handle. I'm not going to demonstrate that. Hopefully you just saw how much I slip and scored, so I would need a handle there. And then I'm going to start to cut for my lid. I'm actually going to start on this side. And I want to use a straight edge because I'm going to do a straight lid all the way around. You want to give yourself a little bit of a lip. And I'm going to go ahead and cut right into my piece. Then I'm going to turn it and continue the cut. And then on this very last side, I'm going to create a little indent. And this is just to show me that this is the side that the lid will fit into. So essentially it's just like a little tooth. And it's going to be tiny. I'm not making it large at all. I want it to be pretty subtle actually. Okay, and so now the lid popped off, and you can see where that little tooth is going to fit. And now I can start to go in and smooth out the inside of my box, smooth out the inside of my lid. And as I'm working it, I still want to make sure that my lid continues to fit back on. If it doesn't at any point, then I might need to stop and readjust some things. But this gives you just a tiny little jar. And you are welcome to make that a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. That's up to you. This method works for any size. This is just the size I chose for the demonstration. So again, I'm going to make sure I slip and score my handle on, and then clean up all of my edges, and then I will be done.